If you think diplomacy is still on the table in the Middle East, you aren't looking at the right map. The noise of mainstream media is drowning out the fine print. Welcome back to Undercurrent. I'm Josh. Today we're stripping away the noise to look at the Iran trap. While everyone is watching the carrier groups, the real escalation is happening in the fine print of new legislative alliances. The Yemeni Houthis have officially joined the fray. This isn't just a regional skirmish anymore. They've warned that their hands are on the trigger for the Red Sea.
تنفيذا لما ورد في بيان القوات المسلحة اليمنية السابق.
In light of the continued aggression by the American and Israeli enemy against the Islamic Republic of Iran, Palestine and Gaza, Iraq and Lebanon, in implementation of the Zionist plan which threatens the entire nation, the Yemeni armed forces, keen on the stability and security of the region and the cessation of aggression, affirm the following. First, the necessity for the American and Israeli enemy to respond immediately to international diplomatic efforts to halt the aggression against Iran and the countries of the Axis, as it is an unjust, oppressive, and unprovoked aggression that harms stability and security at the global and regional levels and damages the global economy. Second, the necessity of an immediate cessation of aggression against Muslim countries in Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, and Iraq, and the lifting of the unjust siege on Yemen. Third, the necessity of implementing the Gaza Agreement and fulfilling the obligations it includes regarding humanitarian entitlements and the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. Fourth, we affirm that our fingers are on the trigger for direct military intervention in any of the following cases: the joining of any other alliances with America and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran and the axis of jihad and resistance, the use of the Red Sea to carry out hostile operations by America and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran or against any Muslim country, which we will not allow, and the continuation of the escalation against the Islamic Republic and the axis of jihad and resistance as dictated by the theater of military operations. Fifth, the Yemeni armed forces warn against any unjust measures aimed at tightening the siege on the Yemeni people. In conclusion, we affirm that our military operations only target the Israeli and American enemy to thwart the Zionist scheme and do not target any Muslim people. The threat is clear: a direct challenge to the global maritime economy. If this gate closes, the fine print of global trade changes overnight, impacting every gas pump and supermarket on the planet. But listen to the narrative coming out of Washington. Senator Marco Rubio, a key voice in U.S. foreign policy, says this could all be over in just a few weeks.
We're going to destroy their Navy, we're going to destroy their Air Force, and we are going to significantly destroy their missile launchers so they can never hide behind these things to get a nuclear weapon. We are achieving all those objectives. We are ahead of schedule on most of them, and we can achieve them without any ground troops.
Rubio's narrative is one of absolute technological superiority. The U.S. checklist, systematic degradation of Iran's naval and air assets through precision strikes and crushing economic leverage. No boots on the ground. At the center is Donald Trump's 15-point plan. This isn't just a list of demands. It's a blueprint designed to restructure the Middle East by forcing a total Iranian capitulation through isolated economic warfare. Point 1 is maximum pressure on oil. They want Iranian revenue at zero. The goal is to starve the regime of the oxygen it uses to fund its regional proxies and nuclear ambitions. It's financial strangulation in the fine print. The second pillar is a reset of the Abraham Accords. They are pushing for normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia to create a unified regional front. A new map where Tehran is the isolated outlier. The plan demands a total cessation of nuclear activity. No compromises. Trump is betting that Tehran is already begging for a way out of the economic onslaught, and he's not giving them an inch. But while the world is watching the carrier groups, something even more explosive is happening in the halls of power. The Israeli Knesset is advancing a bill to authorize the execution of Palestinians convicted of terrorist acts. Proponents call it a necessary deterrent in a time of existential war. Critics warn it's a match in a powder keg. This isn't just a law, it's a signal of a point of no return for regional peace and Palestinian rights. The fine print of this legislation could ignite the West Bank and Gaza beyond anything we've seen, turning tactical wins into a strategic nightmare of civil unrest and unquenchable resentment. And then there are the war trades. While families worry about escalation, the markets are already betting on it. Financial players are trading on the instability of the Middle East as if it's just another market fluctuation. They are betting on the fallout, higher oil prices, defense contracts, the economic wreckage of a region on the brink. For them, the Iran trap isn't a threat, it's an opportunity. It's the ultimate noise in the system. Look, this situation is moving faster than most newsrooms can keep up with. If you want the analysis on these geopolitical shifts before they hit the mainstream, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. It's the only way to stay ahead of the undercurrent. Speaking on a recent panel for Dropsite News, investigative journalist Jeremy Scahill was blunt. He warns that the U.S. is facing a potential strategic defeat, pointing out that the noise of carrier groups masks a fundamental failure to understand Iranian resilience. Scahill's argument is that maximum pressure creates a cornered adversary with nothing left to lose. When you strip away everything, you create an actor that is willing to burn the whole map down. That's the trap. This brings us to Professor John Mearsheimer, perhaps the most sobering voice in the room. In a recent discussion hosted on Professor Glenn Deason's channel, Mearsheimer made it clear he isn't buying the weeks to victory narrative, warning instead of a catastrophic iceberg dead ahead.
And I don't think most people fully realize it, but the Iranians hold almost all the cards in a protracted war. First of all, there's no real good exit strategy for Trump. And if he goes...
Mearsheimer's Titanic analogy is chilling. He warns that the U.S. and its advisors are trying to turn the ship, but they might already be too late. The Iran trap isn't a skirmish. It's a collision course with a global energy collapse. By targeting global energy markets and the Strait of Hormuz, Tehran could bring the world economy to its knees. Air superiority doesn't fix a broken global supply chain or a crippled economy. That's the card they hold. Mearsheimer warns this war could be the catalyst for the collapse of the U.S. empire. The costs of maintaining this level of control, military, economic, and moral, are becoming unsustainable. We are overextended. And it's not just the academics. Emerging reports suggest that troop sentiment is shifting. There is a deep, quiet resistance to being drawn into another forever war in the Middle East. The pawns are starting to question the board. Analysts warn of a cycle of violence that no one can break. One strike on a nuclear facility leads to a retaliatory strike on an industrial plant, and suddenly the whole region is a match being thrown into a sea of oil. So we have a profound divide: political optimism and tactical confidence on one side, scholarly realism and the threat of strategic defeat on the other. Is Trump's 15-point plan a masterclass in leverage or a dangerous miscalculation? Is this a calculated bluff designed to force a deal, or are we sleepwalking toward a point of no return? The fine print, the war trades, and the new legislative alliances suggest the latter. We are looking at a different map now. The cards are finally on the table, but the real question is, who's actually playing them, and who's just a pawn? Who's stripping away the noise, and who's just a part of it? I want to know, do you think we're seeing a calculated bluff, or is this the point of no return? I'll be in the comments for the next hour responding to your theories. Let's dig into the undercurrent together. I'm Josh for Undercurrent. I'll see you in the next one. Stay ahead of the noise.